What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about some super budget Lord of the Rings cards that you might not have thought were good when you first read. But promise me, these cards are phenomenal. Give them a check out and they are super cheap. Today we're not going to be talking about cards you know are good right out the gate, like Delighted Halfling, Last March of the Ents, The One Ring. Today we're going to be talking about cool cards you might not have thought were super good just by reading them. Kicking it off, we have Rise of the Witch King. For 2 black-green, you get a sorcery with each player sacrifices a creature. If you sacrificed a creature this way, you may return another permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So for 4 mana, you can sacrifice some random token, a pest or something, and you get to reanimate the best permanent in your graveyard straight to the battlefield while making each opponent sacrifice something. People used to pay 5 mana for this with Obsidian's Will, but you're paying 4 mana, you get to hinder each of your opponents while doing it. You're in Golgari, so it's very easy to have a disposable token and very easy to mill yourself into some giant threat. This thing can swap out for, like I said, any permanent. Hell, if you want to be that guy, you can entomb for Omniscience and just put that out turn 4. That seems like an easy dub to me. Next up we have Horn of the Mark. For 2 colorless, you get a legendary artifact whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This card may not sound too exciting, but 2 mana draw card is an extremely good rate, and this lets you look at the top 5 and grab one. Honestly, extremely good. Like, this is repeatable card advantage, and all you have to do is attack with 2 creatures. And remember, this says per player, so if you're able to attack 2 people with 2 creatures each, you are able to look at the top 5 and grab a creature twice. Again, 15 for 3, if you happen to have 6 creatures lying around. But that's a lot of card advantage for a mere 2 mana card. Next up we have Ring Sight. For 1 blue-black, you get a sorcery with The Ring Tempts You. Search your library for any card that shares a color with the legendary creature you control, reveal that card and put it in your hand, then shuffle. Demonic Tutor too expensive for you? Why not Ring Sight? For a mere 22 cents, you're able to search your deck for the best card you want as long as you control your commander. Pretty good. And it tempts you, I guess. This is a card I've been excited for. Call of the Ring. For 1 and a black, you get an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. You should know by now I love repeatable card advantage, and this is a Phyrexian arena, but dare I say, better? Let me explain. So, Phyrexian Arena is a 3 mana card that nets you a card each turn for the cost of 1 life. It is a finite amount, you will only gain 1 card, and you will only lose 1 life. That is it. Call of the Ring, however, is 1 less mana, comes down 1 turn earlier. If you're playing them both on curve, this also gives you an extra card. It also gives you a temptation. Maxing out your ring is not nothing. And yes, you do pay 2 life instead of 1, but it comes down a turn earlier, and it gives you full tempt by itself. In addition, if you have other ways to tempt yourself, like, let's say, the card we just revealed, Ring Sight, you can trigger this multiple times in a turn, effectively making it immediately better than Phyrexian Arena, because Phyrexian is only 1. This can be done multiple times. If you're playing a life gain deck, you can easily offset the 2 life. And like I said, Full Temptation is very nice, especially considering that one of the modes lets you draw and discard. By itself, it is letting you be able to draw 2 cards and discard 1, which is phenomenal for 2 mana. Up next, we have our very first legendary instant ever, Isildors Fateful Strike. For 2 black, you get a legendary instant, destroy target creature. If its controller has more than 4 cards in their hand, they exile cards from their hand equal to the difference. This is, agreed, very high for a spot removal instant, because people don't play Murder, and Murder is 3 mana, 1 less. But the difference is this card can hit up to 3 cards from someone's hand as well as blowing up their threat. So, let's say in a standard game of Magic, right? Someone will usually have 7 cards in hand. That's why people like Jessica's Will so much. This will blow up their biggest threat and hit 3 cards from their hand into exile. What? It's a 4-for-1 for 4 mana? And 3 of them are exiled? Can't really go wrong with that. The only time this card is, like, bad is if every single opponent has, like, 4 or less cards in their hand, which is extremely unlikely, especially in my meta of greedy card draws. Up next, we have another instant, Lost to Legend. For 2 white, you get an instant, put target non-land historic permanent into its owner's library, 4th from the top. Doesn't sound too exciting, right? Well, historic is a lot of things you might not have even thought of. It hits every type of commander, whether they're planeswalkers or creatures. It hits artifacts. It hits any legendary creature sitting around. It hits any legendary enchantment, any legendary planeswalker. And if you're fighting against a Bombadil deck when they're super common, you can hit a Saga, I guess. But more importantly, you're probably going to tuck their commander. Or some problematic artifact or legendary shenanigans. I think for 2 mana it's extremely versatile, and I'd give it a shot. Merc Woodbats. For 3 and a black, you get a creature bat flying. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life. It's a 2/3. People are already clamoring for this card to get banned. I don't quite think it's nearly that powerful, but it is definitely very strong. Anytime you create or sacrifice a token, you drain the entire table. So even if you make a simple 5 treasures, you've just dealt the entire table 10 damage. And upped yourself by 5 mana. Very, very powerful. Not much else to say about it, other than it's super good. Eowyn Fearless Knight. For 2 red and a white, your legendary creature, Human Knight. Haste. When Eowyn enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. Legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until the end of turn 3/4. People in this day and age still play Duplicant as a good creature hate card because it exiles the creature, and there are not too many creatures that ETB exile a creature, period, without being able to return it just gone. And Eowyn comes in for 2/3 the mana at a low price of 4. She enters with haste and can exile any creature that is a greater power of 4 or greater, and just come in and smack. If I hit your commander with my Eowyn, then she is 100% unblockable, unless you have, I guess, an artifact creature. And just being able to snipe threats every time she enters is just a phenomenal ability. Next up we have Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. For white-black, you get a legendary creature Halfling Rogue 2/1. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you lose a life and create a treasure. So yes, this is a tiny little man that makes you an absurd amount of monies. Because whenever a player casts their second spell, you'll almost always get it, and you'll probably get it from an opponent at least once or twice a rotation, making you a lot of mana and paying himself back very quickly. This is good ramp, especially for, these colors. Finally, we have Press the Enemy. For 2 blue, you get an instant return target spell or non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with equal to or less mana from your hand without paying its mana cost. So this can bounce someone's spell to their hand, or it can bounce a non-land permanent they already have. And then when you do that, you get to cast an instant or sorcery from your hand for free as long as it's cheaper. And importantly, this does skip timing restrictions, so if I am able to bounce your enchantment to your hand, I can cast a sorcery on your turn, such as a board wipe, or a normally inopportune, draw spell or something, or a reanimation spell. This has a lot of versatility, being able to cast your sorceries at instant speed and being able to disrupt your opponent all in the same fell swoop. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next video, and feel free to click on some other cool stuff. Let me know in the comments down below if you found another cool budget card, around $2 or less, something around there, that I didn't mention, because this is a big set and I might not have seen it. Hell, we can even discuss if you think that some of my picks weren't even that good. I'm always open to discussion. You have a wonderful day.